Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. March 22nd, 2025. Let's get into it. I just heard on the radio that Trump just approved the, well, I guess it's been in development for about 2 years, but a new fighter plane called the F-47. And some reason they think that's going to be a huge leap in technology, but I don't know. Every time we come out with a new fighter plane, things get worse. The F-35 was a dud, an expensive waste of money. Now, you know, with Hexeth and Trump there, I do think they'll be on top of it, make sure that all the cost overruns and stuff are explained, and maybe Hexeth can get in there and develop it the right way. You know, that's one of the big things in our country that we do is we develop these super advanced systems, and we only have a very few of them. And of course, sometimes they work out, but most of the time they're failures. Whereas, you know, I submit that, you know, back during, let's take World War II, you know, we were producing thousands of planes. You know, now the cost of one plane is the same as the cost of 1,000 planes back then. You know, so with a little bit less technology and a lot less cost, we could produce a lot more planes. Now you say, oh man, well, you know, we don't want our pilots getting killed. So I'm not so sure having manned aircraft is better than developing our drone technology. I mean, I'm looking at Ukraine and the drones are making a huge difference. So why are we putting so much money into another manned fighter? I guess we'll see how it turns out. So anyway, we're going to get a sit-down version of this video here shortly. We'll get on that. I guess a couple other things I'll talk about when I think of them. First thing I wanted to talk about was how hypocritical Democrats are. You know, I love to talk about Democrats. And the reason I want to tell this story is because I had a personal experience with this. Democrats don't give a crap about your job, okay? They put a vaccine mandate on the military and on government workers, and of course they got all the hospital systems and all the corporations to adopt that same vaccine mandate, and then they fired everybody. Okay? Even though the Supreme Court eventually ruled that I think they ruled it as unconstitutional, didn't they? They couldn't give a shit about those jobs. All right, and the reason it was personal for me is I was in the hospital during that time, and the Charlottesville hospital there fired all the damn nurses because they wouldn't get the shot. Why do you think a nurse won't get the COVID shot? You tell me. I wonder. So if Democrats really cared about jobs, and I also think about the fact they took down the Keystone Pipeline. Those were union jobs, man. I mean, and they voted for Biden. That's the best part of the whole damn thing. The whole damn union voted for Joe Biden, and then he just nixed all their jobs day one, right out the box, man. That was awesome. I was going like, oh, them union workers, they want to vote Democrat no matter what. No matter what. But I wanted to get that off my chest. The next story that's all over the news, and I don't understand how people are having a hard time, is Elon Musk, of course. You know, that the lefties are going crazy, burning down Tesla dealerships, scratching Tesla cars, giving them the middle finger, throwing dog poop at Teslas. I mean, this is the same guy that built the electric car. I mean, these are the same people. Climate change, climate change, climate change. How many times did we hear the word climate change? Global warming, global warming, global warming. So then finally, the darling child, Elon Musk, develops the Tesla, almost went broke doing it, makes an electric car, and all those lefty lunatics were going, oh good, we have electric cars, we need to get rid of gas cars now. Let's get rid of the gas cars, let's put quotas on Ford Motor and GM. You know, make sure that they're going to make electric cars. And now all of a sudden, you know, they hate Elon Musk, but and everybody goes, we don't know why, because Elon's, you know, he's a good dude. He is a good dude. I mean, he just brought those astronauts back. You know, that was awesome. I mean, imagine a private business is able to shoot a rocket up into space and pick up 2 astronauts and bring them back. Plus, I mean, he's trying to cure so that blind people can see. You know, maybe someday I can get that, and it'll help me with my neuropathy, because I don't have any feeling in my hands and feet. You know, so I'm hoping Elon can come through with that technology. You know, and of course everybody now is talking about the Teslas and how good they are. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting one. I didn't get one before because I had to drive back and forth to Virginia to help my mom, but she's dead now, so I don't. At 400-mile range is plenty for me. I'm not going to go further than 400 miles here in Florida, and as long as I can find a place to recharge it, you know, then you got 800 miles, because you can plug it in, let it charge overnight, then you know, then drive back. So that's 800 miles. That's more driving than I'm probably going to do for the rest of my life, you know, because I'm a homebody now. I just go out hiking in the area. But anyway, I wanted to give you the reason why they're after. It's because if you go to my channel, or I'm at ThatCyberSecurityGuy on X, or it's on YouTube, and I put it up on Rumble. I think I put it up on Odyssey. I wrote a song, or me and Grok wrote a song together. It's called, the name of the song, I forgot to put the name of the song in my X post, but it's called Go Grifters Go. That's the name of the song. You know, because I put all the words to the song in the post, but I didn't put the damn title of the song. So it's called Go Grifters Go. That's the name of the song, in case you're wondering. But you can listen to that song. But that's the reason why everybody's hating. Because you understand, all Democrats are grifters. They're all grifters. You got a neighbor, they just assume steal from you. Okay, if it's a Democrat, they're all grifters. And the reason why they're going crazy, batshit crazy, on Elon is because he's ending the grift. You understand? It's just as simple as that. All right? All these people were, you know, getting money from NGOs and, you know, US aid and all. We've talked about all the corruption that the government, I mean, I would say 90% of the Democrat Party was on the grift. So of course they're going to get pissed off, because you're cutting them off from their money. You cut me off from my money, I'm going to be upset too. So, I mean, that's just as simple as that. And everybody goes, I don't know why they're hating on Elon. It's because Elon's cutting them off from the money. Which gets me into the next topic that I wanted to tell you about. Okay, because they're starting to eliminate a lot of Social Security accounts that you know, are, well, I think they started with 140 years old and above. That's what I heard in a post. But I imagine they're going to use their AI to go down and find anybody that's suspicious in Social Security. So if you want to keep getting your Social Security, if you're on disability, or if you're a grifter, or whatever, or you're just getting Social Security, you got to log in to Social Security. Be sure and log in, because I'm going to tell you what the AI is going to do. It's going to look and say, okay, has this person logged in? Does this person have an account with Social Security? And then there's probably going to be something up there that you want to do, so that when that AI checks, it's just going to look for simple stuff. But that login will help you out as far as when that AI is going down through the algorithm to see if these accounts are valid or not. That should be a flag that the account is valid. So I don't want your Social Security to get interrupted because they mistake you for a grifter or a bot or somebody that's dead. You don't want that mistake to happen. So that's my advice to you. Now we'll get into the reading portion of this video later on. But before we do, I had this post from Alex Jones. And a lot of times these videos, I try to talk about news and geopolitics and everything else. But this was one interesting post. It's 17 minutes long by Alex Jones. He put it up on X as a post. But it talks about they found this structure underneath a pyramid. And how the way Alex Jones does his videos is a lot of times he's got a lot of advertising in there. And I cut the advertising out when I edit the video. So you might have to watch for maybe 12 minutes or so. But check this out, man. I thought this was badass. And we'll get into the reading portion of the video next if it doesn't get too dark on me. So I'm on my way back. All right, let's watch that video.
I am struggling to express in words just how significant of a discovery this is. Because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock. This is not possible given the standard historical and archaeological narrative given to us about ancient Egypt.
We're talking about huge structures that go kilometers under the earth and that have these huge coils around them. And then these other structures built above that basically look like Chinese architecture. And then you start looking at the schematics of what they found. It looks like a power plant grid. Just the giant pillars are 2 kilometers. Then there's giant blocks under them that are gigantic. I mean, this is amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I've always been fascinated with the pyramids, and I've read a lot of history books about it, both mainstream and alternative. I've interviewed a lot of experts about it. And I also read what ancients said about it, like Plato and others that were really historians of their time. And these new discoveries that were just announced last week and got very little attention until just a few days ago are the most spectacular ever, using very sophisticated, high-powered satellite ground-penetrating radar. An international team of scientists, and they published their findings, have been able to scan down deep into the Giza pyramid complex, and particularly the Khafre pyramid, the second largest in the world, second only to the other pyramid right next to it. There's obviously 3 big ones and a bunch of older ones, or they think maybe later ones, copies of those that weren't as good. Now, I remember being a little kid, and my dad's a big historian, he reads all sorts of stuff, and him saying that the word was some type of energy system, and that there was different technologies that they now know exist, we're able to do it now, where you can sink different types of systems into the ground and pick up the latent energy of the planet, particularly if there's water running under it, and it creates a lot of different phenomena, and there's different ways to do it. The point is that in so many ancient texts and in all the lore, they've said that there's a giant energy complex underneath these pyramids. And we've had, for really the last 60, 70 years, the Egyptian government not letting anybody excavate, not letting anybody investigate, and being very, very secretive. And I remember all the different Egypt experts and others, even on mainstream news, and Art Bell and all of it, saying it's because there's these big giant structures under it, according to lore, and there's a lot more inside these pyramids, particularly under them. And so now, I'm about to get to several great reports breaking this down better than I am. One with our former colleague who we love, Greg Reese, who's always was talking about this, and it's just amazing. I mean, we're talking about huge structures that go kilometers under the earth and that have these huge coils around them. And then these other structures built above that basically look like Chinese architecture. And then you start looking at the schematics of what they found. It looks like a power plant grid. So it would be hard for us to build this today. And it's clearly not just ceremonial. And if you go back to ancient writings and ancient lore, and that is really what legends are, is just over time records get lost, and the Library of Alexandria got burned and others. But the word was, and it's been passed on to us, that this was a giant, some type of energy system or communication system or weapon. And it was in the lore that Atlantis was out in the Atlantic, and it had some free energy system with automatons, big robot type people, or that humans would use. And there was flying ships that were described. And whether that existed or not, we're the new Atlantis now. We have all that stuff. So we know that we don't know much going back past 6,000 years. And whatever we're told about the history of humans is always changing. That's the thing about science and history, and basically nothing we were told 100 years ago is accurate. I mean, until the big comet hit one of the gas giants, Shoemaker-Levy, they thought the Earth only got hit every 20 million years or so by a giant meteor. Now we know it's every 100,000 or so, and with satellites we can see giant craters all over the Earth that have just silted in and grown in, or have lakes in them. So what we're being told about the age of the Earth, all this stuff, we really don't know. The Big Bang Theory's been disproven. It just goes on and on and on. But this is just simply amazing because it is exactly in the lore what has been passed down, and it's just simply gargantuan. It is so huge. Wait till you see this. I mean, it's just amazing. It's not just these giant tubular structures and all these coils going down. Then they're on top giant blocks. It looks like solid blocks. And I've said this forever. Why don't they use ground penetrating radar? Well, it's gotten stronger and stronger and more sophisticated. And so now they're able to, imagine what the government has, but even private corporations shoot down into this mountain of artificially constructed stone. And we learn that it is just the capstone. The pyramid itself is the capstone for a giant subterranean complex. And so I want to play, there's a lot of scientists boiling it down and others. You can just go to X, it's trending the top of it, and look up the discoveries at the Giza pyramid complex. But I think two of the best boil downs, I watched 7 or 8 of them before we shot this, is one by Greg Reese. It's excellent. And then, but the one we're going to play first is Jay Anderson also did a really good job. But when you go on X, you can watch the scientist presentation. You know, they don't get into the history or the energy and generation structure or weapon structure that's been rumored, you know, to be. But then it was just rumored to be there and that it was a weapon or communication system. Now, all those legends, it turns out, are true, that these pyramids are just the tip of the iceberg of what is going on right beneath them. And again, even with modern excavation things, some of these stones and blocks are so giant, so perfectly done, there's no way humans rolled these in there, folks. It's like Stonehenge. I mean, they can't even do that today. Stuff comes from hundreds and hundreds of miles away, and it's all perfectly done. I mean, it's amazing. There's been a lot of stuff going on this planet. So here are the 2 reports. Just absolutely amazing. And as we get more and more advanced technology, we're learning more and more about our world. And I really like to focus on really cool stuff like this instead of what the globalists are doing and the crimes they're committing. I mean, we still do that almost all the time. But it's just refreshing to just also look and say what a beautiful, amazing universe of wonder and discovery and mysteries about so many things that we're cracking open now. And the group is planning to try to go to the Egyptian government now and get authorization to go in there. But again, they can do this from space. The Egyptians can't say anything about that. Also reminds me what I said a few years ago when the Chinese balloon came over a year and a half ago. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's looking at us. Folks, that balloon, which we now know was a spy balloon, obviously, because they reconstructed it and got pieces of it out from the ocean after they shot it down off the coast of the East Coast. That's nothing compared to satellites, folks, okay? So this is all going on. And if you think balloons or something, my God, just think about what these private satellites were able to do. I mean, I remember 30 years ago on local TV, they were on, the police now have these heat resident systems. They can see what you're doing in your house. And then there was a big backlash. They stopped showing you what $30,000, $50,000 units on helicopters can do. I mean, they've had units for 50 years. They can just see right through your walls. It came out that the Xbox, even 16, 17 years ago, that, looks at your movement and everything you do, that can scan not just you, but through the walls in your house and send back a total image of everything you're doing. It's radar, it's sonar, it's sending sound waves out or particle waves out or light waves out, and they bounce back. And then from the frequency of that and the resonance, they can create a very, very clear picture. So long story short, this is very complex, very fancy ground penetrating radar. They'd already had some in the last few decades that was there that was not as strong, and they did see some of the structures, but now they're going down miles and miles, kilometers and kilometers of these structures. I mean, this thing is as tall as the tallest building in the world, or maybe even taller. We should look into that. I haven't done the numbers yet, but it just seems like, do we have any 2-kilometer tall buildings? Look that up. Because just the giant pillars are 2 kilometers. Then there's giant blocks under them that are gigantic. I mean, this is amazing. All right, I'm going to stop ranting. Just fabulously interesting. And we've reached out to Jay Anderson and, of course, the great Greg Reese to try to get them on the show, the Thursday show tomorrow. Thank you so much. Here are excerpts of both of their reports. Be sure to check out their X accounts for the full reports and more.
I am struggling to express in words just how significant of a discovery this is. what has just been announced in relation to the pyramids at the Giza plateau and the plateau itself is so incredible, so awe-inspiring and narrative shattering that I have been sitting here for the last hour trying to wrap my head around the implications of what we were just told. So this is pretty much breaking news because the new findings were announced on the 16th of March at a press conference held by the team who was studying the Great Pyramid of Giza with a non-invasive technology that was first developed by Filippo Bionde and Corrado Malanga called synthetic aperture radar Doppler tomography. So this was used to explore the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And this method leverages the analysis of micro movements typically generated by background seismic activity to achieve a high resolution full 3D tomographic imagery of the pyramid's interior and subsurface components. The recent findings from deploying this technology are nothing short of mind-blowing, because what's been discovered is that there are huge structures coming down from the base of the pyramid deep into the bedrock, in fact over 600 meters deep, which then connects to structures that extend up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the ground. 2 kilometers. Massive internal structures connected to the base of the pyramid and extending deep, deep down. This is what we know so far. Utilizing high-resolution radar images from Capella Space and Umbra, which are 2 private companies that specialize in satellite-based synthetic aperture radar imaging. This has allowed researchers to create a 3D model of the internal structure of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Now, this model has revealed a previously unknown chamber with 5 horizontal levels and a sloping roof, which in of itself is an architectural design unlike any previously documented in the Giza Pyramid. But the most shocking discovery lies beneath the surface. Below ground level, radar tomography has identified vertical cylindrical structures extending for hundreds of meters beneath the pyramid. There are 8 of these cylindrical wells arranged in 2 parallel rows, descending to an astonishing depth of 648 meters. Even more intriguing, at the base of these structures are 2 massive cubic formations measuring approximately 80 meters in diameter. The tomographic data suggests that these are vertical wells with intricate spiral pathways. Now, this design not only implies a functional purpose, but also a level of sophisticated engineering that completely blows the dynastic Egyptian model out of the water. I mean, the pyramid itself was already a massive red flag in the ancient Egyptian historical narrative. But now, with this discovery, I think it's become impossible to say that the Egyptian civilizations that we understand, that we've been taught about, were responsible for building these structures.
Mainstream Egyptology tells us that the Giza pyramids were tombs for pharaohs Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, and that they were built around 2500 BC using ramps, sledges, and levers. But the redundant mathematics in their construction, which include pi, the golden ratio, and the speed of light, along with the testimony of today's expert architects, suggests that the official story does not hold up. The massive underground structure revealed by the recent SAR data shows what appears to be a mechanical or functional system, and this has been hypothesized in the past. Nikola Tesla believed that the pyramids could harness Earth's natural frequencies. This arguably inspired his experiments in wireless energy transmission and scalar waves. In the Giza power plant, Christopher Dunn argued that the Great Pyramid was a power-generating machine using resonant and acoustic forces to convert mechanical stress into electricity. In the Giza Death Star, Joseph Farrell proposed that the Great Pyramid of Giza was a weapon of mass destruction using a type of physics that he calls paleophysics to focus energy as a scalar weapon. The cylindrical wells could be conduits for energy or sound waves, and the cubic structures might serve as energy storage or stabilization units, akin to components in a large-scale weapon or generator. and the detection of vibrations in the pyramid's internal structures reflects all of these ideas. The Khafre project hopes to plan an excavation in order to discover more about this underground structure, but history shows that this will be very difficult to get approval for. Greg Reese reporting. The Reese Report is now fully funded by my Substack subscribers. Subscribe today and support my work at gregreese.substack.com.
You're still here. I'm glad you stayed for those two great reports. We looked it up during the clips, and the Burj Khalifa in Dubai is the tallest building in the world right now. It's 0.8 kilometers. So the Great Pyramid, if it wasn't buried, or it's at the same site, the second largest pyramid in the world is actually the biggest. And it's not just the biggest there, it's the biggest building in the world. Wow. Incredible information. Again, I'll be covering it more tomorrow on my show, 11 a.m. Central. Be sure and follow me right here on X at Real Alex Jones.
I know the two other topics, the Department of Education. You know, we know that Trump just signed that executive order to begin the dismantlement of the Department of Education, which is good. But I don't think he's going to be able to get rid of it. You know, maybe he can defund some of it and slim it down. But, you know, Congress, they have to vote on that to actually eliminate it. And too many Democrats are on the grift. They make a lot of money off of the Department of Education. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to keep it in place, because that grifting money, they don't want to give that up. I guarantee you that. So they're all going to vote against it. And I'm not sure if it's a simple majority. Maybe somebody can tell me what, you know, whether you just need a majority vote. Now that could happen if that's the case. I don't know. So the other thing I was going to talk about was called confession through projection. You know, before my ex-wife moved out, her sister called me a racist and a white supremacist. Now, I'm neither, I can tell you that for sure. I have no beef with anybody unless they have a beef with me. But anyway, I think it's because she's obviously a liberal, Democrat, and I think, you know, these Democrats, when they call you names like that, it's because that's what they are. And they think by calling you that name, I guess it makes them feel better, right? So I just wanted you to, when a Democrat calls you a Nazi or a white supremacist or a rapist or whatever, or, you know, that's confession through projection. And just say, well, I guess that means that's what you are, Democrat. So anyway, I did want to just talk about that for a minute. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, let's get into the reading portion. Before we do, I want to ask a question if anybody watches this video can answer. I filmed a video yesterday, March 21st, and the whole video was upside down. Because I know, you know, when I got the new phone, I was playing with the settings, and I went back and I tried to figure out what setting would make the video upside, because, you know, even when you view it through the camera, it was upside down, so I could tell that, you know, when I was playing with the settings, I never did figure it out. So I finally had to just reset the, by the way, that's another tip for you. You can, if you really get screwed up with your settings on the camera, you can always, there's a reset at the bottom, and just hit reset camera settings, and it'll just set everything back to the default, and then you can go back and make your changes again, which is what I ended up doing. So anyway, I don't understand that. Let's get into the reading portion of the video here. This is about the Department of Education again. I keep hearing white liberals say that the elimination of the Department of Education will disproportionately hurt black children. In Chicago, 83% of black children in grades 3 through 8 can't read at grade level. What the hell has the Department of Education done for them? That's C.J. Peterson that put that in there. And this is a guy, I'll put this in the video. He's talking about the IRS and how much businesses have to spend. everything. It's just a good video. Let's watch that now.
It's hard to really grasp the scale of this because we process at the IRS about the same amount of data as a mid-sized bank. And a typical mid-sized bank will have somewhere between 1 and 200 people in IT, and they'll have an operations and maintenance budget in like the $20 million a year range. We have 8,000 people in IT, and our operations and maintenance budget is $3.5 billion a year. I don't really know why yet, but I will tell you that 80% of that budget goes to contractors and licenses. We cannot perform the basic functions of tax collection without paying a toll to all these contractors. We really have to figure out how to get out of this hole. We're in a really deep hole right now. How do we turn this around? We have a $3.5 billion operations and maintenance budget. We have a $3.7 billion modernization effort within IT. That's a lot of budget. And we are way beyond any reasonable cost for what you would expect at a private company for this.
What has been the biggest surprise? You, again, Secretary Bessent's, been in the business world as well, but he heard it from me. But when you first saw this, what was the biggest surprise that you found at that Department of Treasury?
I would say it's the disconnect between leadership and the people actually doing the work is a big one. I would say that it doesn't take a lot, just somebody who cares to solve these problems. You find contracts that are 10, 20, 30, 50 million dollars, and you just ask, like, why are we doing this? And everyone's just like, I don't know. And then you cancel it, and then nothing happens. It's just inertia has just taken over.
All right, so that was interesting, and this is another clip of Elon. At GM, there was a special elevator for senior executives. We have no such thing at Tesla. If you haven't watched my videos, I always talked about the fact that, a good leader will sit down with, a private, for example. Let's take the military. So a general would sit down and ask a private's opinion, and that's when you know you've got a good general, okay? But at these car companies, because I contracted with them for many years, I would say anybody above the manager never asked me a question, even though they were paying me decent money. I'd never had a senior executive at any of these car companies sit down with me and ask me a question. So this is how you know, this is why Elon is, one of the reasons why Elon is so successful. I actually know people on the line because I worked on the line. I walked the line. I slept in the factory, and I worked beside them. So I am no stranger to them. There are many people at Tesla who have gone from working on the line to be in senior management. This never happens, by the way, in the big three car companies. They got their own little, what is it called? The clique. Anyway, there's another word for that, cronyism. They got their own little crony system, and so that they all promote the people that they know or the friends or the relatives into the car companies, especially in the unions. But anyway, there are no lords and peasants. Everyone eats at the same table. Everyone parks in the same parking lot. At GM, there's a special elevator only for senior executives. We have no such thing at Tesla. We give everyone stock options. Many people who are just working the line who didn't even know what stocks were, we've made them millionaires. I just want to say that I'm incredibly appreciative to all those who build cars, and they know it. And so this is the clip from Elon.
I actually know the people on the line because I worked on the line, and I walked the line, and I slept in the factory, and I worked beside them. So I'm no stranger to them. There are many people at Tesla who have gone from working on the line to being in senior management. There is no lords and peasants. Everyone eats at the same table. Everyone parks in the same parking lot. At GM, there's a special elevator only for senior executives. We have no such thing at Tesla. We give everyone stock options. Many people who are just working the line, who didn't even know what stocks were, we've made them millionaires. And I just want to say that I'm incredibly appreciative of those who build cars, and they know it.
All right, so I just thought, because that hit home to me, and I'm going to put this up because I want to do a video on Giza and eventually. But this is showing you, and it shows, well, you're seeing it now, the Statue of Liberty with the Israeli flag wrapped around it, because they do own the government, no doubt about it. The Israelis own the U.S. government. So this is Insurrection Barbie. This is your daily reminder that the Democratic Party doesn't give a damn about people losing their jobs. because they fired people from the military and other federal positions for not taking the vaccine. And not one even said a word. They care about stopping Trump, no matter what he does or proposes. Their only strategy is destruction. Well, it's also grifting. They're all grifters. Anyway, if you got a neighbor as a Democrat, grifter. All right, so this is Tom London, and this will get. Well, we'll save this for the. Well, now let's do it now because this is kind of a preview for the Giza video that I'm going to make eventually. I'm a British Jew. I'm 63. This is Tom London. All my life, I could not understand how millions of ordinary people could take part in the Holocaust. Now I see Israel's genocide and the support from the West, including people who consider themselves thoughtful, liberal, and upholders of human rights. Now I understand. So I just thought that was a good post. So that's the viewpoint that we're going to be having, because they just killed, well, a couple days ago, they killed 400 Palestinians. They renewed the bombing. So anyway, just let this sink in. This is J.D. Vance News. I thought this was an interesting post. Ukrainian officials released the kickback numbers they gave U.S. politicians. Joe Biden, 92 million. Mitch McConnell, 89 million. Nancy Pelosi, 86 million. Chuck Schumer, 66 million. Lindsey Graham, 82 million. Mitt Romney, 71 million. John Conyers, 41 million. Adam Schiff, 62 million. Elizabeth Cheney, 77 million. Kevin McCarthy, 42 million. You know, and on that post, I wanted to add, I was listening to Bernie Sanders giving a speech in Las Vegas. Talk about confession through projection. He was talking about how oligarchs are getting rich, and we have to milk the oligarchs. And I would love for somebody someday, one damn Democrat, to holler up to Bernie Sanders, hey Bernie Sanders, how did you pay for your mansions, and how many millions are you worth, Bernie Sanders? Because it's a huge number of millions of dollars. You don't get rich as a senator unless you're grifting. So I would love for somebody to just ask him that question, and it never happens. All right, we're going to finish up the video here because with the Alex Jones clip, it's getting long. Mitch Lee, The Intercept's former director of information security, participated in the Tesla town hall call in Action Tonight. Interesting. Check this out. The former director of information security for The Intercept was on the call to Action for Tesla. Takedown Tonight, where organizers called for 500 protests at Elon Musk Tesla showrooms and supercharger elections on March 29th, 2025. In an article, Fight Fascism and Elon Musk by Taking Down Tesla, that Mitch Lee published on 3/3/2025 on his own personal blog, mitchflee.com. Mitch, I say Mitch, it's M-I-C-A-H. I don't know how you pronounce that, but encouraged people to stop drawing swastikas on Teslas and Cybertrucks, and instead told people, if you're going to vandalize a Cybertruck, write FK Nazis or draw a penis or something. Don't put some swastikas out into the world. And then this is him. We'll watch this video right now.
Journalists banned by Elon Musk after the billionaire bought Twitter, which I will always be calling it, is the only okay thing to dead name. Now Micah writes software to help people delete their tweets and stay private and secure online. In his investigative journalism, Micah works to expose the far right and hold the broligarchs accountable. Micah, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey everyone, I'm Micah Lee calling in from Northern California. I'm excited to be here. I'm an investigative journalist and a hacker. So yeah, back in 2022, when I was the director of information security at The Intercept, I wrote a lot of articles about Elon Musk taking over Twitter. I wrote about how he immediately started purging prominent leftist accounts, how he brought back previously banned neo-Nazis and anti-vaxxers. Oh, sorry, this is my cat, Malcolm. And I also wrote about how basically Twitter users were now subject to Elon Musk's arbitrary whims. So naturally, I was one of the 8 journalists that he decided to permanently suspend from Twitter because he didn't like my speech. But then a few days later, after posting a Twitter poll, he changed his mind and unbanned me. But I was still locked out of my account until I deleted the tweet that the billionaire didn't like. So instead of deleting it, I just didn't use Twitter for about a year, and oh my God, it was so much nicer. So if you are still using X, I highly recommend that you quit. Even if you have a lot of followers, it's not worth it. So now I'm part of a workaround collective that makes open source security and privacy software. We make an app called SID. You can find it at sid.social. It's CYD for clawback your data. That helps you delete all of your data from X, including deleting all of your tweets for free. If you want to, SID can also help you migrate your old tweets into Blue Sky, and we're adding support for Facebook and Instagram too, because we need to defeat all of the oligarchs, not just Elon. Freeing yourself from fascist social media is really good for your mental health, but I'm really excited about Tesla Takedown. We're a nonviolent grassroots protest movement that's focused on an actual winnable strategy to bring down Elon Musk. If we kill the Tesla brand, if we drive down the stock price low enough, we can force him to sell his stock to pay back the billions of dollars of debt that he took on to buy Twitter. This will drive Tesla stock into a death spiral. The fascists are purging the government of their critics. They're sending innocent people to Guantanamo Bay. Democrats are either asleep at the wheel or actively collaborating with them. There are no elections coming up. Tanking Tesla's stock is a very solid strategy, and it's one of the only solid strategies that's really been articulated to deal with this moment. And if we're successful, we will collapse Elon Musk's wealth, and with it, his power.
So on that vein, once again, I mean, I can't believe that these climate change or global warming, now they're all against Teslas, and I told you why, because he's taking out the grifting. So that's it for the video today. Peace out. Stay free. On my way back, I think I've come up with another category of Democrat. I've done videos of the 5 categories of Democrats. I won't bore you with those. But I think we got to add masochist to that category. Because I was just thinking about it, because they were saying on the radio that the Democrats in West Los Angeles are going around and they're putting flyers on Teslas that say you're driving a Nazi car or something like that. And they were pointing out those are Democrats giving Democrats a hard time, because a lot of Tesla owners are Democrats. So these Teslas that are getting keyed, so the Democrats are abusing their own kind. And then I've given the example many times of the Keystone Pipeline. Those are all union members. They all voted Democrat and they lost their jobs. I shouldn't find that funny, but that's what you get for voting Democrat. And then, when you look at Los Angeles, another story there was the guy was trying to take down a tree. Now I'm going to tell you what, for me to trim a tree or take down a tree, I'm looking at between $300 to $1,000. Because of all the red tape in Los Angeles, it was going to cost this guy in fees and everything else $10,000 to take down this tree. And I guarantee you, he voted Democrat. So, and then when you look at these states, and I've given these examples, I mean, the Democrat governors were totalitarian lunatics. They locked their states up for God knows how long. The kids were in masks. I mean, in Michigan, it went to extremes. You couldn't even buy seeds. They roped off the seeds because they didn't want people having a garden. And they voted Whitmer back in. I mean, there's no woman that locked him up for a freaking year. And only a masochist would do that, right? I mean, oh my God. And then, of course, you got to look at California. I mean, look at what Newsom has done to that state. I mean, the entire, remember the fire and everything burnt down? And I guarantee you they'll vote for Newsom again. I mean, so if you don't think Democrats are masochists, so that gives me 6 categories of Democrats now. You could also label them Marxist, communist, totalitarian, whatever. But and totalitarian is one of my, of course, communist, Marxist, totalitarian. That's kind of all grouped together. When you look at Bernie Sanders, he's a Marxist for sure. And but people support him. I guess he just says all the right things. But they don't even question the fact that him and Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and all the Democrats in Congress are wealthy beyond belief. Where do you think that money came from? It was your tax dollars, you masochist Democrats. Anyway, the other Tesla story was, the ones that we talked about that, they thrown poop at them, keyed them, thrown Molotov cocktails into Tesla dealers. That was another story. It looks like Elon, billions of dollars out of his pocket, he's having to hire private security for the Tesla dealers all across the country. So that's costing him a lot of money. But anyway, but they were pointing out that there's cameras all over the Teslas, which is, in my mind, is a violation of privacy. But in this case, it's working out real good because all these people are on film and people are posting the videos all over X. So it's going to make it easy for law enforcement to track them down and arrest them. But the problem is if they're doing it in a Democrat state, they're not going to get arrested because, the Democrats are all for that. So they're not, they're going to tell if it's a Democrat mayor, they're not going to tell the police to arrest somebody for torching a Tesla, but which gets back to the masochist thing. Because now the Democrats are blowing up other Democrats. Because if you're in Chicago with a Tesla, you're more than likely a Democrat. So they're destroying each other, man. I don't know. I just found that an interesting story. All right.